Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us to this session on harnessing the cloud to drive innovation for telecom. Big thanks to our sponsors, IBM. My name is Anurag Rana. I'm the software and the IT services analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence, which is Bloomberg's in-house research arm. Part of my coverage includes to look at emerging technologies and companies in the space. I cover most of the large cap names such as Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, um, uh, Shopify, Adobe, Salesforce, and also some of the services names such as IBM, Accenture, and Tata Consultancy Services. So one of the things that I wanted to do was perhaps kick it off with Marissa to give a little bit of a background of what she does and what her practice is about, and then from there we'll try to start with a question, get a few people's answer, and then we'll try to keep it more lively as possible.
Great. Thank you, Anurag. First of all, good morning, good afternoon to each one of you and all of the listeners. It is a pleasure for us. So thank you so much for allocating time on your busy schedules to be in this panel, which I think it will be very, very interesting. So background on myself, Marisa Viveros, and I've been a long-time IBMer. I've been working in technology, primarily building technologies and delivering technologies to our clients. And for the past 5 years, I've been dedicating myself to the telecommunications, media, and entertainment industry. So every one of our clients globally, and I head strategy and solutions development. And of course, I'm a core engineer. So for me, solving issues, solving problems, that's at the core of what I do and what I drive for every day. So I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes on what IBM does in this domain. And frankly, many times I get asked, what is IBM really stands for in the telecommunication, media, and entertainment business? And we serve about 84 of the largest percentage of the largest operators across the world. So we have been providing technology services for everything that deals with the transformation of the enterprises and the digital transformation as we move forward. With services, with technology, with the cloud solutions, and many other, in AI, and many other solutions. In the past, I would say 4 years, we have been looking at what really makes, as the networks, whether it is the core, the access, or the edge, those networks become more software-oriented and more cloud-based oriented and delivered via cloud, in making efficiencies around that. How can IBM participate? And that's what we have been dedicating ourselves for the past a few years at really positioning ourselves in a way that we develop our solutions. And I always say it is built for business. So what I mean is we're very much focused on helping our clients not only transform their infrastructure, but also to monetize the infrastructure such that you can increase and everyone can increase revenue streams. In fact, from fundamentally create value for society and for your own companies. To me is, and I hear for so many CTOs in many of our conversations, the communication industry was very much considered a commodity. With the advent of the latest recent event, and fundamentally everyone working from home and from distance, communication, connectivity, communication, and new services become even more important in everyday's life. So for the first time, I think in a long time, we have communication at the center of the transformation of society. And I think we have an opportunity to create new value, not only for consumers, but also for enterprise. So Anurag, I don't want to take more time. I think we have a terrific set of speakers here that will offer their point of view, and I look forward to all the dialogue. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marissa. So let me start off with one topic that's at least on top of my mind, and that's 5G. And it's been all over the news, talked about it for a while. You have news releases and CapEx discussions. But I really wanted to throw it out to all of you, given that you live in reality compared to some of the the news we read about it. What's your strategy when it comes to 5G in terms of adoption rates versus what's your short-term or the medium-term plan for anything that relates to the about the entire upgrade cycle? So, anybody? Let me see.
I'm happy to start. It's Howard here, if that helps.
Go for it, Howard.
Okay, so Howard Watson, I'm the CTIO at BT here in the UK. And I mean, the great thing about the UK market is, as ever, it's highly competitive. So all four operators have launched 5G. So we are, actively out there competing for customers. And I guess very similarly, we're all very focused on, initial enhanced mobile broadband opportunities, I guess predominantly for consumers and for, the whole range of businesses for their employees. I would say that, again, in the context of the UK market, the recent iPhone 12 launch has been a really big event for us. And so, we've all been healthily competing over a variety of offers to win those valuable iPhone 12 5G customers onto our platform. And no doubt the results of the success of that will appear over the next weeks and months. And we're all actively rolling out. Clearly, we've had some challenges. Some of us have had challenges around moves that the government have made around high-risk vendor, and we're taking that into account in our rollout strategy. And BT's well reported of the impact that that's had on our cost of rollout. I would say, though, that we're all really looking forward to the capabilities beyond the current means of rollout, which is non-standalone, essentially operating off an enhanced 4G core, to the point of where we can get to a true virtualized 5G core that then starts to enable the other two apexes of the very familiar 5G triangle, which is ultra reliability and low latency and massive numbers of devices. And we all have use cases in operation there. We've had some great success recently, Belfast Port and Logistics as a private network there, which will start to bring some of those use cases truly to life and actually then help us, really find the answer to the key 5G question, which is, where does the money ultimately come from? And to what extent is that driven from new capabilities that will naturally emerge for consumer, a bit like the smartphone did on the back of, say, 4G, or indeed from the enterprise side, which I think where most of us think the ultimate money will be made for 5G here. So that's very much our perspective as a starting point to the conversation.
Howard, that's a very good analysis. I mean, I completely agree with you that the money will be made on the enterprise side. I see that Andrew has a point he wants to make as well.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Andrew Dugan. I'm the CTO for Lumen. You may not recognize that name because we recently rebranded from CenturyLink just about a month ago. But I'm responsible for our global network solutions. My team essentially builds our networking products. So from a 5G perspective, we're not a wireless company. We do a little bit of wireless, but not mobile wireless. The wireless we support is as an access technology for some of our customers. Our view on 5G is that we'll participate in that market in the sense of helping 5G builders. And Howard's probably got the best perspective in terms of the timing of when that will become reality. But for me, 5G is an exciting technology, even though we're not necessarily directly involved in operating it. And it's exciting from the perspective that it's going to enable a set of applications. And I agree that those applications will help drive the enterprise. It's going to enable enterprises a new way to access their users through mobile with high capacity, but it's also going to enable the connectivity of the Internet of Things. And that's going to create a whole new set of applications that are going to allow enterprises to thrive. Those enterprises are going to need a different set of tools, I believe, to take advantage of that 5G. And those tools are the things that people have probably heard about in the industry. It's going to be, I believe ultimately the distribution of the cloud, because a lot of those enterprises are going to be using those IoT devices to generate and process data. And that's going to increase their need for high performance applications. And that's going to push the cloud further out, closer to the edge. It's also going to drive a change in behavior for networking. And it's going to require that we deliver to those enterprises a terrestrial network, and that's our business, a terrestrial network that can meet the performance needs of those applications. And it's going to have to be a dynamic, performance assured network. And so 5G will drive a transition for the enterprise. It'll drive a transition for, even beyond wireless access into wireline networking, the business that we're in.
Sounds good, Andrew. Stephanie?
Yeah, hey, good morning. Hi, I'm Stephanie Michko. I'm the EVP and CTO at Charter Communications, and I run engineering technology for all of our networking capabilities, our access network, software development applications, and in addition to that, technology policy. So I'll just follow up a little bit on what Andrew was saying about 5G. A lot of operators use existing towers for low frequency spectrum, right? For 5G bandwidth and lower latency, really start to look at densifying that network and getting small cells out there more densely to take advantage of those capabilities. And I think, as Andrew said, ironically, the most significant constraint to building out 5G wireless is really the requirements around the wireline network and infrastructure. So, at Charter we operate wireline, wireless, and also mobile. So we look at 5G as a new technology for our customers to get better products and services while they're transitioning across multiple networks, both outdoor wireless, mobile, and then ultimately transferring their data onto our wireline. So we are looking at 5G as it pertains to how we put out small cells to support our mobile customers and our outdoor wireline customers to transition traffic off of those networks onto across other networks.
That's fair. One of the things, I think when can't talk about 5G without talking about cloud, I'll get to that in a moment, but I still have Johan on the line or in a queue to discuss our first question.
Thank you. So my name is Johan Weiberg. I'm the CTO for Vodafone. Vodafone is a fixed and mobile provider, and we operate in 22 countries with about 500 million customers. And my responsibility is then network and IT. So far, we have launched 5G in 9 countries, started building out in 125 cities, started 18 months ago. Initially, now it's very much of a providing smartphone connectivity, even though we do believe, as has been said earlier, the biggest potentially are various enterprise solutions, a lot of interesting vertical segments. If you look overall on 5G, for us as a carrier, it brings better economics on the network due to more newer and more efficient technology. For our customers, it provides higher speeds. Think about 5 to 10 times versus what you're having today, and a significant better latency. And then, as we also said here earlier, edge computing brings possibilities to do and solve business problems in different ways that hasn't been possible before.
No, that's Johan. You brought up another important topic of edge computing. That's on my list of questions as well. Jose Miguel, you wanted to make a point as well.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Jose Miguel Garcia. I'm the CEO of a company called Euskaltel, which is a Spanish operator that has been operating last 25 years in the north of Spain, we recently launched a new brand under the name of Virgin Teleco. It's focused at innovation, digitalization. We're using a lot of the probably most innovative services that you would expect of an exciting new brand. And the reason I just wanted to talk, because I agree with everything that's been said. However, I think us telcos have got a challenge, a very important challenge, in that we keep on introducing, we keep on investing the capex on new technology like 5G, which is obviously going to be great for enterprises, and we all know the use of the enterprises, but we must be wary that we don't let the OTT operators come and steal our lunch, right? That we really take a foot ahead, and we ensure we are developing those sexy, those interesting applications that the consumer market and the SME markets are going to be taking. So we've taken a step, with the launch of Virgin Teleco in Spain, in introducing basically, AI in every single process we're doing, and introducing AI in every single customer process. Because the reason is that it's through AI that we're going to be able to monetize and to actually be able to compete against the coming OTT applications that are likely to sort of jump on our infrastructure and our investments, actually make a killing. So we're taking that step. We created a new area, a new division called Bay Analytics, which is helping us to become AI sort of centric, and it's also helping us to actually help many of our enterprise customers. But more importantly, is getting us ready for the 5G in Spain. We're still going through all the frequency farming. We're still going through all the auctions, the government, blah 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 blah. So it's going to take a few months. But we're taking that initiative with AI in trying to get ourselves ahead of the game, so that the OTTs don't actually steal their lunch from us. So that's been reverted in launching a product offering, which is looking at only being online. We've got less than 3-minute onboarding for a completely convergent quadruple play package. We do everything through AI type technology into the customer. And as a consequence of that, we're beginning to launch a lot of new services, particularly in the content. So I think it's very important for telcos not just to see 5G as another great technology to reduce costs, or to see this is a move from 4G to 5G and 4G for enterprise, but to actually make an initiative to ensure that we keep the monetization opportunities of 5Gs to the telcos. I think it's an interesting area, for us telcos to make sure we focus.
Thank you. Let me actually, before I move to cloud, there's another topic that I read about a lot. Jan, if you won't mind, let me point this towards you. Is a lot of discussion about 5G impacting the business of cable operators, down the road, taking some market share. What's your viewpoint, both in the short term and the midterm, as whether that can happen or not?
My viewpoint is that it's very complementary technologies. And my experience has been that if you have a cable or a fiber going into a household, that's a better offering than trying to provide a broadband connection through 5G. However, we see areas where it's not feasible economically to provide a cable or a fiber connection, and there might just be a really old landline that doesn't provide a good fixed broadband connection, where then 5G, or might even some cases 4G, might provide a much better experience and in a much more economical way. So I rather view them as different tools with the purpose of providing a great experience to customers, and you pick the tool that's most cost effective depending on the situation.
Jan?
Yeah, I can jump in here as well. So hi, good morning. I'm Jan Hofmer. I'm the Chief Network Officer here at Comcast. Our responsibilities include, core network, our cloud for Comcast, our video delivery platforms, and our operations. And specifically your question, we are obviously very excited about 5G for our Xfinity Mobile customers. Last month we announced that we are expanding our 5G coverage nationwide. And we think that it will be a huge benefit for our Xfinity Mobile customers. In terms of our own network development, we remain very focused on building the fastest, most reliable, and hybrid fiber coaxial network. So we believe we have the most robust and flexible, powerful architecture for delivering speed, reliability, and capacity to fixed wireline or fixed households. And we will continue to push the envelope of what that platform can deliver.
Fair. Anybody else on the competitive landscape between 5G and cable operators before I jump onto cloud?
If I could just, I'll just jump in and reiterate a little bit of what Hans said from Comcast. We have a similar position, but in the cable world, we've invested over $40 billion in technology upgrades in the last 5 years on the wireline HFC networks. So I agree with both those comments that the addition of 5G for our mobile business and our mobile customers is really complementary to the infrastructure that we've already built. And it's a great way to enhance the experiences for our mobile customers by having both of those pieces of infrastructure and capability available for next generation products and services, including what we, the products and services we offer today.
Fair. Andrew?
Yeah, so we're not a cable operator, but we do build fiber to consumers, to residential homes. And I would agree with Johan's comments that, where there is a gig service available, through a landline or a terrestrial service, I believe most customers will choose that as a more reliable broadband capability. But there is plenty of opportunity for 5G broadband in places like rural America where it's not very economically feasible to build fiber, or even in some cases cable out to those areas. And you getting the broad coverage that 5G allows in those areas will help those customers with wireless broadband.
Yeah, our resident analyst who covers a lot of these companies, she has a similar mindset as well on this topic. So let me actually, Jeannie, let me start with you to talk a little bit about cloud, if possible. Now, this is a topic that's been beaten to death for a while. I really want to get to reality from the people who spend the money and figure out, where, how should I think about it? Either using hyperscale public cloud providers, or you upgrading your entire infrastructure into a private cloud, or embracing more of a hybrid cloud model. Like, where are we today in terms of reality compared to everything that I hear from every tech company out there as to how amazing their cloud product is?
Yeah, well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Jeannie York here, CTIO for UK and Ireland for Virgin Media. So in my remit, I have the team that does all the network planning, engineering, architecture, product development, basically engineering and operations for both network and IT. And cloud is definitely probably one of the most overused terms besides agile in our industry at the minute. Probably, I think that we both get very tired of hearing it. But and on the face of it, what seems to be a really easy technology on paper is not necessarily always easy to fully operationalize and really bring into your business for a multitude of reasons. But Virgin Media, we really have adopted and accelerated what we're calling cloud first, off the heels of COVID, partially as a necessity, as many of us on this call were really faced with an extreme acceleration of digital, whether that was in our care organizations, even with our own employee base, having to build collaboration tools quite quickly and get thousands of employees working remotely. Cloud is a really critical component of our innovation and success. And so we're doing a hybrid cloud solution, which I don't think is too different from what a lot of telcos and cable companies are doing across the world. Hybrid because certain applications need local cloud solutions, others you can put in public cloud. And I think that is reasonable. The economics also pay off in that when you look at that over the course of 3 to 5 years. But the transition isn't easy. I think that we started off with, cloud native concept, but also recognize that trying to find the right people to actually build cloud and run it is one of the first hurdles you face in this industry. There's not a plethora of cloud architects, engineers, operators out there. Most of them are working for Amazon and Google, which are great companies. And so finding that asset, that resource is a challenge. And so in a lot of cases, we're switching very quickly to platform as a service and looking to Google to provide an end-to-end solution for acceleration, which COVID is driving for us. And so I'd say 2020 was a very pivotal year for us to switch. We've invested quite a bit of money into cloud solutions, and digital acceleration is absolutely critical for us in every aspect of that, predominantly in terms of the customer experience, but also really as we look at integrating and eventually virtualizing the whole network that we have today. As you know, HFC networks, fiber networks are getting more and more virtual, which that will be technology that will move to the cloud. So yeah, we've got a very busy 3-year transition. It doesn't happen in a year, that's for sure.
No, that's a very fair point. We do hear about a similar, say, acceleration in the last several months as well. Let me actually ask the same question to Marissa, just because you probably have more cases, or case studies than any one of us at this point. I just wanted to know, when you are getting calls from customers, whether it's Red Hat, whether it's your own cloud, or any kind of modernization, what are the top 3 or 5 themes that you're hearing from them, immediately when it comes to a shift to the cloud?
No, thank you for the question. And so if I have to characterize, I think every company in the telco, in media, wants to move to the cloud. I think we have been late to the transformation, but I think it is happening. Traditionally, telco and media has been always very engineering companies, like all of us, and building their own technology, building their own private clouds, and so on. As Jeannie said, it's very hard to find the skills to run, to develop, and to manage. So the concept of hybrid cloud, it has been, well received in the sense of I can still maintain my current investment, and I can extend myself, modernizing, using public clouds in the hybrid environment, and start experimenting. And I think that's all about, in today's environment, we need to kind of get our hands and wet and dirty in order to experiment and make sure that we can experiment fast and fail fast and succeed with some of those new services that need to be deployed. So hybrid is a concept that is very, very much there. The second area I will say is accountability. So delivering solutions from an end-to-end perspective, accountability becomes, a key driver for any company in order, whether it is the telcos and media themselves, or the clients, the price or the consumers that we want to serve. So accountability is, I think it was the second area. Automation. So can I do more, in a more efficient manner, in a more predictive manner, using AI, using data-driven, using all of these other concepts that we have talked about it, but automating from the point of view of building a platform to designing the platform, to building the platform, and then to operating. So automation becomes another theme, very much. Can I be data-driven? And most important, can I provide a better user experience? So I will qualify kind of those 5, key drivers that are motivating many of our discussions, many of our implementations that we're having, whether it is with the large telcos here in North America, or in Asia Pacific, or in Europe. And so those are the key drivers that are being very central to our clients' strategy on how they move forward.
Thank you, Marissa. Stephanie, you have a point?
Yeah, so I agree with everything Marissa's saying, and I think hybrid is really the answer. I tend to be pretty black and white about cloud. When I talk about cloud, I think of whether it's public cloud, private cloud, something you do in your internal data center. These are all just data centers where you access compute and storage with tools. So the public clouds give us a lot of capability to be innovative and move things quickly. And operating a hybrid cloud that delivers a product. So a combination of a data center application, a public cloud application, maybe something private you have in your network, or we might have deep in our network. Those things in combination actually deliver a product or service to our customers today. It's happening today. So, I think as operators, as we move to the cloud, which we have to be really smart about thinking through what applications belong in what environment. How do we manage the security and control and operational ability of those environments? How do we think about, and we should think about, the upgradability? Because we all run SaaS software, right? It's just software in someone else's cloud that your company accesses. But when you combine those in a hybrid way and use that technology and capability with all of the magic underneath with AI and data and automation driving it, you have to really understand how those things fit together in the architecture to give your customer the best product and service, right? So I think governance is a really important aspect of defining your cloud architecture and thinking through the skill sets. I think a couple of people mentioned it here. There's different skill sets necessary in the workforce to manage a hybrid cloud environment that is delivering a product and service. So I'm excited about the cloud. I love the cloud. I think cost, someone mentioned cost. You have to watch the cost really carefully, because total cost of operation and total cost of a service can get blurred as compute and storage become part of the initiative. And I'm really hard on my engineers to think through what is the performance envelope and constellation of that application over time. And sometimes you make decisions to put something in the cloud for innovation and speed, but over time you realize that because of the way that application behaves, it's more cost effective and maybe better to operate in your data center with an instrumented private cloud. So I think you have to really, there's no magic. I don't think there's a lot of magic to the cloud. I think it's you have to pick the right technology, the right architecture for the right application.
Absolutely perfect. Andrew, you wanted to make a statement?
Oh, I must have left my hand up from previously, so I apologize for that, but I will certainly comment. We would agree that the hybrid cloud is the key. I firmly believe that the centralized cloud has taught enterprises that they don't have to operate infrastructure. That's one factor. The other factor is I really do believe that with different access technologies like 5G, the availability of data and tools like AI, enterprises really will be driven by their applications. And those applications won't run just in the centralized cloud because the performance won't meet the needs. They're going to have to run on-premise in private clouds. They're going to have to run at the edge of the network where you don't have the capability to put private clouds on premise, and they'll run in the centralized cloud. And that hybrid cloud, multi-cloud management, and the experience around that will be key to be successful in this market going forward. But it's not just about the compute and storage, because there's data being transmitted between the on-premise location to the edge of the network and to the centralized cloud. So networking has to be integrated with it. It has to be dynamic, just like the cloud's dynamic. And integrating that experience of managing network and cloud together will be very important for enterprises going forward.
Fair. Howard?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I definitely found myself agreeing with everything that Stephanie said there, especially around, at the end of the day, what we're probably taking the most advantage of is the tools and frameworks that exist around the capabilities. And also, I've sort of I tend to use the term thermal runaway when it comes to public cloud costs, because it's quite easy and quite quickly for people to end up not controlling those costs. So particularly in the IT space, we found that having good FinOps understanding of what's happening and tracking that regularly is very critical. But I do think it's important to have this conversation almost separately between IT and network. I mean, in IT, we've taken sort of cloud first approach for some time, using SaaS in the main for anything new that we're building, and using an IaaS approach for anything that makes sense to migrate into the cloud. We have been quite judicious, though, in not, there's a lot of push right now, as I'm sure many of us feel, from certain parties that we should put our entire application workload into the cloud. I am, as I'm sure a number of my colleagues are, resisting that and ensuring that we look at each application, and I've got a lot of them, in turn to work out what does make sense and what should stay in my own data center. So that's sort of the IT space. In the network space, well, I guess it's fair to say is come to the cloud, to native cloud capability a bit later. And so we've now launched what we call Network Cloud. We've used it for some initial virtual functions. Probably the first one we deployed was some open caching that we've used there. And of course, it will be fundamental underpinning the 5G core, and also quite fundamental in driving the edge capability into the network as well. And there it's essentially the tooling, the economic benefit, and just escaping the old world network core architecture where every function required its own box that was sat somewhere in a network data center. And so we do see significant opportunities there, but probably emerging over the next few years, as opposed to a big gold rush to deploy everything in the next couple of years, shall we say.
Thanks, Howard. Jose Miguel?
Yes, thank you. We are quite a unique case study in terms of cloud, because we had to implement cloud for ourselves, almost 10 years ago. And you'll understand why. I mean, we're a national telco. We're the only national telco in Spain that does not have an office in Madrid. Every single of our HR, every single of our offices is distributed in the regions. So and that means that all our providers, all our suppliers are also all over Spain. So we had to very early, 10 years ago, develop our own cloud solutions. And by the way, we adopted a hybrid cloud solution, primarily because in Europe, our data protection laws are very, very, very stringent. So we have to keep a lot of the data very close to, particularly to the enterprises and to ourselves, because of legal, regulatory reasons. So we adopted a hybrid cloud solution, and we've been implementing our own solutions on cloud, firstly for our own purposes, and things like virtual call centers, obviously, remote working, remote connection with all our suppliers has been something that we've been doing for over 10 years, and we extended that to our enterprise customers. And so we've had a tremendous success. I mean, more than 50% of our territories actually are Euskaltel customers in the enterprise space, and many of them are actually using some of the products we've developed on the hybrid cloud. And we're using we've seen how COVID, for example, has accelerated a lot of the public cloud, where we're using public cloud as a top up. In other words, we provide as a service solution to our customers, but we recognize that the public cloud can be a good top up solution in terms of storage as well as server capacity. So that's the way we've been doing it, and it's been tremendous. I would dare to say that we're by far the most advanced cloud provider in Spain in terms of solutions, and it has to it's come almost as a necessity. So it can be quite a powerful solution, not only for cost savings and efficient, but also as a solution to customers.
Thanks. Jan, you had a comment?
Yeah, thank you. So, I think we very similar to many, agree with so many of the comments made. And I think our cloud journey has been very similar to others here on the call. I mean, it started many years ago with just normal virtualization, right? Where you just virtualize workloads. That's not cloud. That was just virtualizing what we had running. And our cloud journey started was probably about 10, 11 years ago when we started, the build out of the next generation video platform, which was the X1 platform. That was our first cloud native application. And it's fascinating to look back over the last 10 years, how our strategy have shifted. And it shifted from, when you do run a 24/7 video service, reliability and uptime is critical. And we've at the time felt a hybrid cloud is the right way to do it, meaning running in multiple clouds, the same application, so that you have that resiliency. Over the years, we've shifted, and we shifted to a multi-cloud model where we believe that a single cloud instance, whether it's your private cloud or one of the public clouds, have enough resiliency in a single cloud you can run a workload in only one. So we do have a multi-cloud strategy here at Comcast, where we have our workloads running pick a single cloud that is best suited for that particular workload. So that's kind of our strategy. I think it was mentioned, Stephanie, you mentioned it as well. I think of developers like water coming down a mountain. They will take the shortest path with least resistance. And it was not until we absolutely invested in automation and allowing them to easily onboard onto all the platforms with the security and governance in place. So they don't even have to think about that. Literally, they can think about a cloud as a resource that they can onboard and start running their services within minutes. So it's integrated into their CI/CD pipelines, and they really don't have to think about it. It's only when we started doing that for the developing community that we saw, the adoption of multi-cloud really taking off. So I think we will continue to focus on that, but supporting various clouds, I think is definitely for us right now the way forward.
This is something perhaps I'm not technically inclined, so it's not very clear to me. Perhaps you could enlighten me on this. The thing that I've always been confused about that, we want to go to edge computing, we want to use 5G, we want to embrace IoT to the fullest, but at the same time, we are not thinking about moving everything to the public cloud. So given that a lot of at least the legacy on-premise model or the architecture is pretty, from a software point of view, it's very heavy for the end devices. How do you solve for some of those problems without kind of redoing your internal, architecture altogether? So I'm never sure how that works. Perhaps one of you can, teach me that, please. Stephanie, I see you smiling about it.
Yeah, I didn't raise my hand, someone else did, but I will say that, you're just pointing out a very common thing, right, in the evolution of technology, right? We've built certain systems and products in old technology, and now we're migrating, and a lot of times it's a migration and evolution strategy as opposed to a quick switch. No one just says we're going to move everything to the cloud because I get all these benefits. So the real strategy for a technologist has to be focused on how do I get to the end game, all the things you just described, IoT, better performance of devices that are on the wireless and mobile platforms. But how do we get from here to there? And those decisions have to be made really carefully over time, because as we all know, we have to manage our customer experience, we have to manage our capital investments, we have to manage our workforce. So I don't think there's a really clear answer. I'll let others jump in. I just think it's an evolution, and you have to have kind of your North Star architecture strategy front and center and make really good decisions as you bring new products and services onto your networks. The idea of edge compute that you brought up, pushing compute deeper into the edge, software-defined networks. We can, Andrew mentioned this, we can't discount the networks operation and play in all of this cloud stuff, because once you put things in the cloud, now you've moved dependency into the network, right? And control and all of those things. So I think it's an evolution. I don't think there's an easy answer personally. I think from a technology perspective, you have to have a good strategy, understand where you want to go, and then apply your decision-making along the way so that you get there without breaking things, if you will. I think it's great to make good decisions, just say, we're going to deprecate this old technology because it gets in our way, and then create a strategy around that.
Fair enough. Johan, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Anurag. So I can share with you how we thought. Some 3-4 years ago, we were looking at 5G and edge computing and saying, how do we make this a reality? And we decided then to re-architect our networks in the countries where we are operating. And we started basically from the customer and this debate about edge computing, how fast does it need to be? And from a lot of various research, it ends up that it's about 10 milliseconds latency, which is what a human being can handle when it comes to augmented reality, etc. And if you translate that into what does it mean on how much time you can have something being executed on, computed on a device, you have to go through a network, etc. It ended up for us being around 150 miles between a customer and where you do the edge computing, which would translate, if you take Germany as a case, you would have to have edge computing in 10 locations in Germany to be able to live up to that. And 10 makes a fairly good balance between technical requirement and economic feasibility. And you anyway, if you look on how we as operators are building a network, we anyway have multiple locations in the country for latency overall on the telco network, as well as on resilience. Hence, we have re-architected it like that, and we will soon be launching edge computing service to our customers in the first country based on that re-architecture. It's still early days for this type of services, right? Because it's still a bit unproven in the market, but at least we are getting to the starting point.
Yeah. In fact, Johan, what you just, I mean, these are all theoretical questions that I go through. And, Marissa, if you would enlighten me that if I am a client and I come to you with this problem that I just laid out about, my legacy architecture, as well as if I want to get to the edge, how would you tell me, what the path I need to take to get to that?
So, migration is a very interesting question of the application, because I think and that's what we work with our clients, it is more than migrating their old legacy application just exactly as it is to the cloud. It is about re-architecting the network, or as what we can say, re-platform that application in order to move it to the cloud. So I think a moving application just for the sake of moving, I think that's when it comes, for us as the technical leaders to say, what are the characteristics of this application or this service that we can optimize, that we can rewrite in order to make it more efficient going forward, not only for the day after, but for the month after and the year after. So, re-architecting and re-platforming the application becomes, a very core part of the work that we can do here. The other piece that I think is extremely important, and I think Andrew refers to that, he said data. And data needs to be part of that cloud architecture. I'm very proud of what IBM has been doing in terms of maintaining privacy and trust and security of the data. We are the only company that does not monetize the data, does not take advantage in order to build new services from that data. So to me, the telcos and cable operators have a great opportunity to build trust with the end users and with new enterprises, to be current and future enterprises, in order to bring that trust, become entities of trust, because you're working with a company that is not touching the data of your clients. So, re-architecting applications, taking care of the data, as Andrew well said, that it becomes now, it's not just the cloud, it is about also thinking about the underlying infrastructure that we need to take care of. So, those are kind of some of the thoughts that we can offer here.
Thanks. Jan, you had a comment?
Yeah, just one comment for you. You asked a question to kind of help you think about edge cloud. Just want to give you some perspective here that, we as an enterprise leverage edge cloud every single day in running our platforms. We are virtualizing our access network with a virtualized CMTS. Our video platforms are fully virtualized when running in what looks like edge cloud. The technology is identical to edge cloud. So although we don't expose it to an end user as an xCloud offering, we definitely use xCloud, pervasively throughout how we run our system. So I think edge cloud is already implemented in our platforms, and it is the use case to expose it externally that is, I think, when that we are really well positioned that when that comes up, I think we can turn that on for it. But it's the other day, I was actually in a discussion where we were talking about, should we have a machine learning AI team? And the comment came back, no, machine learning AI is a skill in every team, right? It's not a function anymore.
Yep.
5 years ago, it was a function. You hired the ML team. Now it's just a skill set. Edge Cloud is just becoming a capability in our platform. And it's how we apply it and the use case we apply it for really is more the focus than should we build it.
Thanks, Jan. Stephanie brought up a point that really caught my attention about governance. And, as I look at the world evolving, what we have heard from TikTok and just governments getting very careful about the data that they, people can see, or the data that they are holding. Europe is far more strict than the US about it. I have no way, predicting which way the world is going to go, but I have a feeling it's going to be stricter, more stricter going forward. It's what part of that falls into your or how do you account for that, both data governance and privacy, when you start looking at what kind of technologies do you embrace?
So I'll just jump in there for a brief second. Privacy from the consumer perspective is front and center. It's first. So every time we look at a new application or a new way of doing things, we look at it through the lens of, is that secure? Does it maintain the privacy of our subscribers? And is that data governed in a way that's auditable and seen, right? Those are really the keys around the privacy. And as a big operators, right, we hold ourselves to very high standards as well as what we're held to from other places. But the privacy of the data, and Marissa said something about IBM not monetizing the data. We use private clouds and public clouds, and we're always conscious of making sure we understand exactly how the data is being used as it traverses our network, goes into somebody else's infrastructure as a partner, and back, right? So I think for us at Charter, privacy, our customers' privacy is front and center as we look at architecture, just as it has been for years and years and years from our IT perspective in security, right? Before it was always like, we have to be secure to prevent bad actors from affecting us. We have that same diligence around privacy.
Fair enough. Ginny, you had...
Yeah, so I would say similar to what Stephanie says, security and privacy are built into design, right? From the moment of ideation or concept of a product or a service, our process, our governance, our ability to bring that product and service to light, have that in play. And I think it's going to become more and more critical for all of the providers, whether you're, cable, telco, a wireless provider, mobile provider, especially as we get data more and more automated, and AI takes over more where that data is and how it's being manipulated, and how that end user is actually protected. I think will continue to be the focus of regulation. And I'm from the U.S. originally, from Denver, and the FCC very, very involved. It has nothing on the UK regulatory body. It's a very, very focused, driven regulating group here in the UK, all for the right reasons, which is to really protect and assure that experience for either the enterprise or for the customer, the consumer. But it definitely puts a lot of pressure on the telcos to assure that and life cycle that over the period of new innovations and products and services that hit the market. So I don't think that that's going to get any easier for us.
No, that's fair. Let me actually see if there's about 5 minutes left. Jan, let me throw the next question at you, if it's okay, please. So, what are the partnerships you considered necessary to succeed in the, enterprise market? What's your viewpoint, how you go about doing that?
Just unmute here. First of all, I think that is a very important balance that you have to maintain. Many of our technology products and services are developed internally, and it's driving a huge amount of innovation that you see today from us. At the same time, we have tremendous relationships with partners that have best-in-class technologies and products that is a force multiplier for us. So, let's take the network. I'm fortunate that we have amazing engineers and technologies internally that can help us with innovation around our network, AI, machine learning within the network. So we really have a very, very strong internal team around that. Products like the Smart Network Platform and others are being developed within the organization. But at the same time, the scope is so large. If you take from the physical data center to the device in the home and everything in between, we have amazing partnerships with industry leaders that helps us deliver and build those systems. So I think it's a really important balance. I think it's important that you do invest in the areas that is core, where you add value, and where you can buy value. You should not recreate that. So that's in a nutshell.
Great. Just see if there's anybody else with their hands. It's got 5 minutes remaining. Marissa, do you have any, I won't call it ending words because I'm sure somebody could raise their hand in between, but do you have any remarks about where you think the world is going over the next 12 to 24 months in terms of newer investments or the way, clients are talking to you right now?
First of all, great. Thank you so much for all the thoughts here. They were very, very interesting, and expressing what is happening in your different geographies and in your different markets is fantastic. But I do have, I think, a theme that we have been looking at in listening to our clients really. And John, it is around ecosystems and partnerships and ecosystems, especially when it comes to the core network. But most important, if we want to capture, this industry wants to capture value in the enterprise segment. I think there is a new set of partnerships that needs to happen, whether it is technology providers, solution providers, and application providers that will go on the devices or other, or maybe companies like Ford or Toyota or others that where we can really get into helping them automate all of their plants and manufacturing floors. So to me, having a point of view on what kind of partnerships by selected segment, I think is going to be critical to the future, to the industry, in order to conquer that value in the enterprise and grow revenue streams in the enterprise. So to definitely harness the power of the cloud, harness the power of the open source and the collective R&D that is happening in the open source groups. In fact, I'm a member of Linux Foundation Networking, and we have made tremendous progress in building in that community key technologies that are for, and also growing, the thinking about enterprises and industry verticals. So to me, the future, it will be, for growing. Consumers will always demand more, will always ask for more for the same price and maybe less. But getting into the enterprise, I think it will need to be done with our own engineers, but also with a set of partnership with smaller companies that are often, unique services that we don't have or we have not seen before. And I think that will be the power of growing the industry in those domains. So, again, thank you so much. But I think it has been a very, very interesting dialogue.
Fair enough. I still have 1 minute remaining. Does anybody want to make any closing remarks? Because I don't think I have enough time to start another question for anyone. All right, nobody. All right, thanks everybody. It's a pleasure. I learned a few new things today. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and look forward to catching up again. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.